Welcome to the Compassionate Recovery Podcast, the show where we explore healing from sex and porn addiction, betrayal, infidelity, substance use, and everything in between. Wherever you are on your healing journey, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. My name is Jeremy Mast. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a certified sex addiction therapist, a certified partner trauma therapist. I'm also the clinical director and founder at the Center for Integrative Change, a therapy and coaching practice dedicated to helping those struggling with and affected by sex and porn addiction, betrayal, infidelity, and addictions. We help them transform their lives. Recovery is not a straight line. We need compassion at every step in the way. So, wherever you are, now that you're here, pull up a chair, take a breath, and let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the initial episode of the Compassionate Recovery Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to dive in and go on this journey with you. I hope that you'll join me. I wanted to share just a few thoughts as we get started today about why I'm doing this podcast. Why did I want to create this podcast when there are so many other resources and other podcasts out there about sex addiction, porn addiction, betrayal trauma, substance use, infidelity? Why create this podcast? Well, my reasons are rooted in my own story, which I wanted to share with you briefly as we get started. I'm going to do an entire episode about my story, which will add some context to this episode. But in a nutshell, when I went to graduate school, I developed a problem with alcohol, and it was a problem for me. It thankfully didn't greatly interfere with my academics or my social life. I kept it secret and hidden, and I was really ashamed about it. And I knew I needed help. So I didn't go to a 12-step meeting. I certainly wasn't ready to do that. I did go find a therapist. And I saw a number of therapists over the years, and they helped me to, in a very compassionate and caring way, think critically about my alcohol use, my pornography use as well. They never pushed or suggested that I go to a 12-step meeting. We did discuss it, but they didn't require that of me. And that helped me to feel safe. They didn't judge me. They were very empathetic and sought to understand who I was, and they didn't just focus on the drinking as a problem that needed to be solved. I was struggling with it. I know that I was having trouble stopping, and I felt like they were partnering with me on working through why I needed alcohol in my life for as long as I did. And so that's really what helped me to change my relationship with alcohol. I felt safe. I felt that my therapists were compassionate and caring, and they really helped me have compassion for myself when that was really difficult to do so in the midst of all my shame. So why this podcast? In a nutshell, there is so much stigma that is associated with addiction, with substance use, with out of control sexual behaviors, porn addiction, sex addiction, even those who struggle with or have been profoundly hurt by infidelity and betrayal. There's a lot of stigma too for those individuals. There's a lot of stigma in, after betrayal, staying in a marriage or in a relationship, when we all know, those who've been affected by betrayal know that the decision to stay is never easy, and it's not simple. And so I believe if there's more understanding about addiction, about betrayal trauma, about infidelity, about out of control sexual behaviors, then we can cultivate more compassion and more understanding, not just for ourselves, but for those who are really hurting and struggling with these kinds of issues. And with understanding comes the possibility of creating lasting change. So I really wanted to, first of all, reduce stigma, because it's that stigma makes getting help all the more difficult to find. if there's so much stigma, we're just stuck in our shame, and that can make it even more difficult to find help that's really significant and meaningful for us. More than that, I wanted to use this podcast as a way of exploring non-traditional or alternative ways of thinking about and engaging recovery work. I know that 12-step meetings weren't for me. They just weren't. I knew I had a problem. I wasn't ready to identify as an addict. I was. It met the clinical threshold of addiction, my alcohol use, but I wasn't ready to go to a meeting. And instead, I sought out help in the way that fit for me. And I think that if we can spread the word that recovery doesn't necessarily have to involve traditional addiction interventions or approaches, that going to a meeting for the rest of your life, that's not necessarily required. It's helpful for many, and I'm a big fan of 12-step groups. I refer to them often, but I'm also open to helping the folks that I work with to explore what's right for them. And so I believe that if we're open to exploring other possibilities for getting help and receiving that help, doing the work, whatever that looks like in terms of how we recover, then I believe that more people are likely to seek out help for what I know is a pervasive issue in our culture. Sex addiction, pornography addiction, problems with sexual behaviors are rampant, and they cause devastating harm. And I want to help as many people as I can. We at the Center for Integrative Change want to help as many people as we can. And so if going to a 12-step meeting, for example, if that's not right for you, then I want to partner with you. We want to help you figure out what is going to help make a difference in your life. What is going to help you affect the lasting change that you're after? That's what we care about. I also think that compassion and kindness are fundamental to how we experience and transform change. So my therapist, again, I'm referencing my story. My therapists were compassionate with me. They were patient. They were kind. They were caring, and they really sought to understand me and who I was. They didn't see me as an alcoholic or a drinker. They saw me as a person who struggled with alcohol. So that's why I am also doing this podcast, because I think that we need to shift how we think about addiction, about how we perceive and understand betrayal trauma. We need to understand that these are real issues that we as people struggle with, and that we're not just more than any label can really summarize or define us as. So moving toward a more empathic and compassionate understanding of addiction, of betrayal trauma, while not excusing it or rationalizing, we need to hold those who are making harmful choices accountable, but we also need to part with them in ways that work for them to help them change. Okay, so that's why I wanted to do this podcast, is to reduce stigma, to explore alternative ways of engaging recovery that can really work for people, as many people as possible, so that people get all the help that they can, so that people are more likely then to seek out the help that they really need, and to experience genuine, authentic connection with those in recovery. That is magical. It is transformative. It happens in 12-step rooms. It happens outside of 12-step rooms. And I believe that when we experience that authentic connection with someone who really seeks to understand us deeply, compassionately, that's when we change. That's when lasting change happens. So I hope you'll join us for this journey. If you're looking for help and you're not sure about 12-step groups or more traditional addiction approaches, I hope you'll find this place a home for you. Welcome. That's it for right now. I'll go more into my story in a future episode. I can't wait to share that with you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. That's a wrap for this episode of the Compassionate Recovery Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad that you chose to spend this time with us. I'm grateful that you're here. If you heard something that resonated with you, please feel free to share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so that you never miss an episode. To connect with us, please check out cicfreeconsult.com so that you can schedule a free consultation with one of our therapists or coaches. We are standing by here to support you. Wherever you are in your healing journey, we're here to help. Recovery is hard work. You don't have to do it alone. Help is just a free consultation away. So until we see each other again, remember, healing is always possible.